I've always known who I am. I'm Metis. We were called half-breeds at one time, and lots of other names. But nevertheless, I don't. That's just, that's the way it was, the way people speak, and now identity has become, more of an issue for a lot of people. And in the time of Friend Indians, it's come to people's attention a lot, and I think it's really important. For example, I work with Métis students at the university, SUNTEP. SUNTEP is the acronym means Saskatchewan Urban Native Teacher Education Program, and I'm a graduate from that program. So I got a B.Ed out of that and a teacher's certificate. I started working as a student in 1986, but that's also the place where I walked into a drama class, room 101 in 1986. And ever since then, my life changed a lot, because I had no idea what it was to walk into a drama class. I thought it was all Shakespeare, and so I was apprehensive. I didn't know what I was getting into. But once I walked into that room, my teacher was a Norwegian Canadian, Lon Borgerson, a Viking descendant, I imagine, but he's not violent. But he started me off on that road. But once we were into the drama program, he taught us about the art of drama, acting, and the stories. And then I realized that our stories as Métis people, as Indigenous people, were valid and amazing and important to tell. So that was a really awakening for me. A couple of years later, I wrote my own play called Dreamkeeper, and I played 4 different characters. I also had a singer with me, Cheryl Ogrim, who sang different songs in between the characters. And that was produced by 25th Street Theatre in Saskatoon, which is still existing, and that was around 1989. So that was a great experience for me. It was a professional experience. And I also got a job in a play called The Crack Walker, where I played a homeless man on the street. I was quite delirious. And it was called The Crack Walker. And again, it was at Persephone Theatre. And I was in a room with a whole bunch of Toronto actors. So this character I was playing, it was really hard, because we don't like to look at ourselves as being problematic, as a homeless man would have met plenty of problems, as well as drug addiction. And it was kind of too close to, my actual life. And so I remember, just kind of having some anxiety about playing that part. So I asked one of the actors, I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Listen," he says, "just go for it." And I thought, well, that's good advice. So I did. And so I played that character as hard as I could. And it was a real, another awakening for me as an actor. Your job is to portray what the playwright is attempting to create, that character she created. So I'll always remember that. And one of the actors in the play, Allegra Fulton, she ended up giving me a reference to Thompson Highway, which people that are involved with the, if anybody's involved with Native theater, they'll know that he is probably the most well-known Indigenous playwright in the world. his work, the Res Sisters and others, has been translated into many languages, including French and Japanese, and has toured all over the world. So I got a good reference from Allegra Fulton, because she was part of that Toronto crowd, and Native Earth Performing Arts was based in Toronto and still is. So I got a part in a play called Diary of a Crazy Boy, and I played the crazy boy's father. And in that play, I got to work with some pretty incredible people, stars. Kenneth Charlotte, Herbie Barnes, Billy Morasty, Maury Mumford, and Graham Greene. And the play was a story by John MacLeod, an Ojibwe storyteller who's no longer with us. But it was a very well done production, and I lived in Toronto for exactly a year, and taught some school there at it was called the Wandering Spirit Survival School. It was kind of ironic because Wandering Spirit was a warrior here in Saskatchewan, and who was involved in what they called the Frog Lake Massacre. Anyways, that was also around the time of the Riel Resistance in 1885, in those years, and Wandering Spirit and other warriors ended up being hung at Fort Battleford, which was, I think there was maybe 11 of them, for their part in what was called the rebellion. Anyways, so I worked at that school. That was my first teaching job. And so once I got the acting gig, my principal let me off so I could do the rehearsals in the day. And then after rehearsals were done, then I would teach school in the daytime and then do the play at night. So that was a really good start for an actor from Saskatchewan. In the meantime, acting, theater-related art has taken me all over the world. I've been to Australia, London, UK, Colombia, Bogota, and the Amazonas, to a village deep in the jungle called Porto Norino. And there I met the Takuna people and did some drama and theater with them. I've been there now 2 times in the jungle, and I feel really at home there. I've also been to Praha, Czech Republic, for a gathering they have there every 4 years called the Prague Quadrennial, and it's all designers from all over the world. And that was an intriguing trip as well. In Saskatchewan, a lot of the drama and theater work that I did was with Indigenous youth, because I was a high school teacher. And so I worked at a place called Joe Duquette High School in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and it's now called Oskayak. And we formed, well, actually we didn't form it, it was already in existence. It was the theater group in the high school. So myself and Dwayne Favel and Kelly Murphy and others, we began to work with the students there and tour plays in different reserves across Saskatchewan, Métis communities, and mostly Nehiyaw Cree reserves. We did plays on, for example, when Indigenous gambling came out and the First Nations were starting to get involved in casinos and things like that. And we did a play that kind of juxtaposed traditional gaming, we'd call it traditional hand games, with the casino world. And all of our actors were high school students. The name of that play was You Can't Win If You Don't Play. That was kind of a logo of to entice people into the casino. So that was a lot of fun. And we did do some other plays with themes. As time went on, some of the people from that high school became part of a theater company here in Saskatoon that was originally called the Saskatchewan Native Theatre, which is now called Gordon Tatusis Naganawan Theatre, or GTNT. And I have been able to work with them for a number of years as an actor and a playwright. So I'll just get to a more recent accomplishment, I guess, in theater. I wrote a play called Mary of Pachinak, and that's a play. It was based on the story of Mary and Joseph and the wise ones, and it's based here in Saskatoon. But Mary was from Pachinak, and that's a Dene community up north. So I wrote the story based on the biblical story of Mary meets Joseph, and she has a baby, and wise men come to the manger and that kind of thing. So what I did is I indigenized the whole story. So Joseph was a carpenter and Mary was a university student, but she pushed a shopping cart on 20th Street, and she was like just a good spirit. In the shopping cart she had teddy bears and the blankets for the people, or whatever she could pull together just to help the people on the streets. But she did have a home. So in the story, Mary of Pachinak, it begins with her having a dream, and the dream world is very much a part of the play, Mary of Pachinak. And she has recurring dreams where a Dene elder comes to her and tells her a child is coming. And he's talking to her in Dene, but because she was adopted, she didn't really understand. So they were very powerful and they scared her. So she sought out an elder, a Nakawe Soto elder, to help her understand what was happening to her. So the elder let her know that she had a gift, and it was from her people, and she should pay attention to the dreams. Along the way somewhere, we discover that Mary's pregnant, but nobody knows who the father is. So it's kind of my take on the Immaculate Conception, because nobody knew who the father was of Mary's baby. And if you know our community, that's nothing new. So it fit in perfectly with the story. She was having a hard time at university, and so she had a Mohawk teacher, a woman named Willow. So she wasn't cutting it, and Willow was letting her know that she wasn't going to make it. And Willow's colleagues were a Shuswap man named Kenny and a supervisor named George, who was Polish and Czech. So they were the three wise ones. So that basically, again, it parallels the biblical story. But the wise ones are at the university. Anyways, they had heard that there was some kind of a ceremony going up north, and it was underground in Indian Telegraph, and they really wanted to know more about it. So that was a conversation they were having. They knew there was a ceremony going on. I don't know where they got their sources from, but they wanted to know what was going on. Well, in the end, Mary had met Joseph, a carpenter, on the street, and he kind of just fell in love with her. So the whole story is a love story, really. And he accepted her, knowing that she was pregnant. In fact, the subject of who is the father never comes up at all in the whole play. Anyways, we go through a series of things, including an attempted suicide by Mary, and a fight in the bar with the wise ones and Buds on Broadway, and just a lot of humor, a lot of stuff going on, but a lot of heavy things happening as well. Anyways, as we know, the Christmas story has an ending where Mary has a baby, and in this play, it's no different. But she goes to the bush. She follows her dream, and she feels very strongly that she needs to have her baby in a traditional home up in the bush where she can't even remember living. So she makes a point to do that. And she makes her way up north, and there's a blizzard, and there's all kinds of drama going on. But in the end of the story, she has the baby, and out there in the bush that's all set up for her in a traditional home, Maggie is the elder's name, shows up and takes care of her as whatever the woman's name who helps with the baby, I forget. And then the three wise ones show up, and they each have gifts of the medicine. So they bring sweetgrass and tobacco and sage and cedar also. And that's 4 gifts. So there's I think it's the Dene man appears from the dream, but only seen by Mary, and I believe he gives her one of those gifts. But the gift is the child, and the story is about the gift of life, of whenever we have children, how important that is. And part of the reason I wrote that story was that I just felt that people didn't look at Christmas as maybe the original, where it came from in the first place. And for me, whether you're a Christian or you believe in you know, the Bible or anything, this is a story that's happened many times over in many cultures. But I feel that the message is the gift of life, and in some cases, a child is born that becomes very special. In this case, in the biblical story, the baby is Jesus. But in this story, the baby's unnamed. That would probably be in the next play. But the baby's a girl, right? So that's kind of that's the most recent one I did. It's the incredible thing about that play is I wrote it 25 years ago and was just done in the last year. So in the arts, you have to be very patient with various things, and sometimes you get what you want, because I wrote it for the people, and the people came to see it at the Broadway Theater, so that was really nice. The power of the arts is phenomenal, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I guess that's it for now.
Okay, one question from your thing. What was what did people think in the other parts of the world of Indigenous Canadian story?
Well, you know, to be honest, like I've traveled all over the place, I don't know, 5, 6 countries. The difference is that perhaps for me and others is that I was able to find some personal connections to most of these places, and sometimes I didn't know it was going to happen, but it did. In other words, I'm not a tourist. I don't want to ever be a tourist. You know, I want to be connected to where I'm going in some way. And if I go without that, then I just have faith that something will happen. Well, the bottom line is that, you know, me and my people here, whether it's in education or the arts, if you're Indigenous, we have a whole world to share with the world. But once you're out in the world, it's almost could be felt as not significant to others because we're only a small iota of the population of the world, and most people don't know our story or kind of blow it up into something unrealistic or out of proportion. So I think that it all depends on the individual and the circles you're going. The arts is something where you get all the stories and you get them in a very personal way and dealing with subjects that people don't normally want to talk about at a cocktail party or something like that. So we get down into the human reality. So, well, in my experiences, the artists are in tune. But, you know, when you go out there into the general population, most people, you know, don't have an idea on, you know, how it is in different parts of the world. And I can say the same thing for my people here. Many of us have traveled and gone places, but most of our people, because of circumstances, are not going to have that same opportunity. So, but the whole world is here now in Saskatchewan and in Canada. So we do have the opportunity to tell our stories. But we also have, there's a lot of things happening in the world where people are concerned about survival and essentially how they're going to make it in this world. And that kind of is the emphasis or the focus of their lives. The interrelationship with other cultures is not a high priority for a lot of people.
Is there something that Indigenous North American Indians, people from here, Cree, Dene, Metis, can offer to the other world in theater or in general? Or?
Well, I mean, we have our stories, but you know, for me, I believe everybody's Indigenous from somewhere. It's just that in many cases, people's lands have been so overrun by so many different nations and cultures. You know, I'm thinking of Europe, you know, and so when people are, they feel strongly about their contemporary identity, whatever that is, Americans or British or French or Spanish, but it goes much deeper than that. And then you get into the different tribes and societal groups that make up these people. You'll find that what on the surface is not the true story. It's the contemporary times is you know, dealing with a lot of things that technology gives us, but the stories that are behind it they're only for those that wish to receive them. And but for our people, what can we offer? Our stories about how it was in the past. Many of us know a lot of things that urban people don't know. But of course, we're urbanized as well. But there's places all over the world where you can go into the country, wherever it is, and you're going to find people that prefer the simple way of life, and really stay away from the high developed technology of the globe. And that's what I'm interested in. It's contemporary stories are exciting as well, but I'm more interested in the roots. And so I think we can share our stories, and it's all about the receiver. What everybody will get, what works for them in the stories.
What did you like about being an educator, teacher?
Well, you realize that you're in a classroom and you become an uncle, a dad, a friend. It's not just the teacher, but the expectation is from the students is that they recognize you have something to offer. So you have that sacred responsibility to do the best you can with what you got.
Any words to people out there, young people out there?
Yeah, akamemo, do your best. That's what my mom taught me. And work hard, and always, it's the best lessons in life is the simple ones, Treat people with respect, know what love is, share what you have, and take care of your feelings, whether it's anger or confusion or isolation or whatever. Understand that we're human, we have flaws, and that there are people out there that are just like you, and don't be reluctant to speak from the heart, and be kind. It's important to be really kind. Take care of yourself. Learn how to be clean, respect the earth, take care of your relatives, and remember that we're all part of a larger family as well.